Hello guys, how are you today? Vilisink again, back with Raid Shadow Legends, and we are back today to talk about Revive on Death Champions. Now there's maybe 10-11 in the game that have this, and it's a very handy thing to have. If you have not yet completed arbiter missions, or you're just really unlucky, and you just don't have a Reviver, and you're going to have Shaman, you may not want to use her. You may want to use Revive on Death Champions to kind of have a lot of uses. Dungeons, faction wars, even in clan boss, you can build a Phoenix team that you'll continually dub, you'll be revived after. So I want to jump right in and talk firstly about the champions that I've used, and for that we're going to go into the index, and we have to straight away go to Crimson Helm. Now the Dark Elves champion, decrease attack, big version on the A1, so that's actually really good for an A1. That means with the change of AI, you can just effectively keep decrease attack up the whole time you are using her. If you wanted to, quartiles attack at random, chance of placing a provoke and a block damage, which is just extremely annoying, but this is the money maker here. Places a revive on death buff and an increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. Incredibly strong 4-turn cooldown when booked. It's a revive on death and an increased defense, so when they come back to life, their defense is going to be a bit higher. Gives them survivability rather than turn meter. So I have used her. She can be good if you build her up. I just feel she's kind of maybe overshadowed by other champions that have this buff. But nonetheless, the first champion, Crimson Helm, she is okay for an early game, kind of mid-game account. She will definitely help you progress. If you're struggling with any dungeon levels or any Doom Tower bosses or waves in there, she can utilize these buffs here, definitely get you to the next chapter you need to be on. So that's Crimson Helm. She's an okay champion for the Dark Elves. One of my favourite champions is coming up next, and that champion is none other. If I find him, I will tell you. Lightsworn. Lightsworn, defense-based champion. Just he can hit really hard. You can get 6 figures from his A1 if you build him accordingly. Just an all-out tank. I've got multiple. Both are at 60. I used both in clan boss to get to that turn 50. I had to manual after a certain point, but it was a lot of fun. His A1 hits 3 times, decreases turn meter by 10%. So it's a little bit of TM manipulation. It's okay. Like I say, for an A1, it can actually hit pretty hard because he's defense based. His A2 brutality is decrease attack and decrease speed, which is actually really good as a support. So you break the defense. Now if you take him into clan boss, the decreased speed is null and void, but the decreased attack on the other hand is what a lot of people will have used him for. Lightsworn, for a lot of people in OG clan boss teams back in the Ultan days, the Steel Skull days, they would have used Lightsworn with accuracy for the decreased attack. So that alone is really good. It's a 3-turn cooldown, which you can cycle back pretty fast, but is indomitable that we're talking about here. Places increased defense and the revive on death buff on all allies. So it's effectively worded the same as Crimson Helm, but the increased defense and the revive on death, the positions have been swapped. Like I say, this is one of my favourite champions in the game, purely because he's just a big tank. He's a ridiculously big tank. You give him HP, give him defense, you make him as fast as he needs to be, and you really don't have to put accuracy on him if you're using him just for this indomitable move here. And he stays alive. He keeps that buffs up. As well as the increased defense, you may have an apothecary on the team or a sill on the team to be pumping up HP continuously. Lightsworn is kind of an invaluable champion in early mid-clan boss dungeons. I've used him pretty much in every single part of the game. I even ran through campaign with him just for some fun. But Lightsworn, Sacred Order, in my opinion, one of the very best Revive on Death champions. Now, the next champion, let's see if we can find this champion. He may be, so he must be in Bannerlords. Bear with me for a second. Masked Fearmonger. A1, it's each hit decreases turn meter. So it's a situational move whether under fear or true fear, so not really something I'm a big fan of. He needs to then go after a certain champion that has to land certain debuffs, so not too great. Decrease is a fear and a chance of placing decreased speed for 2 turns. You can place true fear on everybody if he kills an enemy, so situational yet again, which means you'd have to build him like a nuking machine. 1 true fear debuff will be placed on the enemy with the lowest turn meter. 1 will be placed with the highest. It's neither here nor there. He's so. Attacks one enemy, ignore some of the defense if they're under, so again, situational, forget that part. Places increased speed debuffs for 2 turns, and revive on death and block debuffs for 1 turn. You have to kill someone to put it on, which again makes him kind of crappy. There's much better nuking champions, unless you're sitting with like ridiculous savage gear, crit damage gear, and you have silver to burn, and you kind of want to mess around with it. Even in a 4-turn cooldown, he's not a champion. Are you building him as a nuke, or are you building him to stay alive because of the increased speed, revive on death, and block debuffs? For me, it's a situational champion, but he has stuff on his kit. Just not somebody personally I would invest in. That's just my take on it. Now, we'll move on. We just should quickly take a trip to Barbarians for one of the best in the game. No, I say one of the best in the game. It is pretty much one of the best healers in the game. A lot of people love this champion in Arena. So a quick look, Talonhouse. So an AoE heals by 15% of the damage inflicted. If she has less than half health, boosts her turn meter instead if she has higher. So it's a little heal, so, but not really what we're on about at the moment. Removes all debuffs from all allies, essentially a cleanse, so wherever you take her, you may be like fears, true fears, poisons, all that type of things. They get wiped off, you get a revive on death buff and you get a block debuff buff, so you can no longer be debuffed, which is pretty fantastic. It is a 4-turn cooldown. She doesn't get enough praise. More people are coming around to her, but Sky Touch Salmon is one of the best in champions. Doesn't matter where you want to take her. I've seen her in clan boss teams. I wouldn't say it's her best spot, but nonetheless, as far as dungeons, Doom Tower goes, she is, if you pull her, you will feel the value of your account greatly increasing. As you have this one where she puts a decreased speed, fearing herself, damages herself, which I don't get. But to combat this, I put mine in immunity, so she cannot debuff herself, and she works fine. But as far as a revive on death champion, you get some heals. She is actually a very, very good champion. Shadowkin is the next place we're going to take a quick look. It is Oboro. Now, I'm building my Oboro. Used her just a few times. I have the champion, so Let's take a quick scan. So decrease defense on the A1. AoE if the target is under 4 armor debuffs, situational. Second hit has a chance of transferring all debuffs. Okay, let's look for the revive on death. I mean, for faster crypts, you could probably be okay. I haven't used it enough to give you a very thorough opinion. So it's the passive. Places a revive on death buff on herself for 3 turns whenever they receive a veil or a perfect veil buff. So if you put her with, for instance, any veil or perfect veil champion, Duchess, it could be Whirlwind, it could be any of that type of champion, that's where she becomes extremely good and essentially unkillable, because as soon as the revive on death falls off, she can just be put under a veil or perfect veil buff again, and then it goes back on, and you can continue that cycle. Yeah, we won't waste much time with Oboro. More testing is required for that champion. Pardon me. Okay, I think it's potentially Dark Elves. There's a rare that has it, but is he a rare in here, or is he High Elves? Potentially High Elves. He's nobody that you need to even worry about, because he's the crappy brother of Apothecary. Although he does have the 30% revive on death buff, and reflect damage on a target ally for 2 turns. Heals everybody else by 10%. So very, very early game, if you're pulling from a green when you just started and you have nobody else, you may get use of him there, but he's not worth investing in whatsoever. We're going to give some quick shout outs for ending the video. And the first one is, where is, I believe it's Sacred Order. Oh, here we go. Yeah, so Cardio has it. Very rare champion to get. You get like 2 fears and you just get revive on death, block buffs. The revive on death cannot be removed. So essentially, it just makes him even better. He is a void champion, so he's very rare to get. Another champion, if we remain in Sacred Order, there is actually an epic that is pretty good. Called Secret and Eerie. Rise of Glory. She can revive with 50% HP. She fills turn meters with the same amount, and she resets the cooldowns of all their skills. Meaning that everything's off cooldown. So when they're revived, if it is a nuke team she's with, then they're going to go straight for the jugular. But the passive effect heals people. The active effect of this passive is, if an ally is about to be killed by a fatal hit, preempts that hit and instantly places the revive on death buff. Essentially, when one of her teammates gets killed, boom, they're straight back up again. That's it. 4 turn cooldown, but with that cooldown cycling, and you have obviously the A3 here, she can either revive or she can use the passive. It just makes her a very strong champion. She isn't a lot of teams nowadays. The other one, quick shout out, I think it's Skinwalkers. Forgive me if I'm wrong. Skinwalkers, no. Is it Ogre and Tribes? Yeah, this meme kind of champion, old school champion. He's just you can put him with Seer because of the buffs. Has decreased speed. Also has increased defense, increased speed, increased crit rate, revival on death, continuous heal. So as a support, there is a little bit of utility and use for him. But he's not really used as much more. If there's a Phoenix team in Clan Boss, that Phoenix team in Clan Boss will potentially have him there to be used. Other than that, it's really nothing special. I believe if we go Battle Sage is... Does anybody know where Battle Sage is? I cannot remember. So she's not one of those high elves. Is she a high elf? Yeah, this is a champion that I would like to pick up at some point. Quick mention for her. On the A1 it's just an AoE, increase attack for 2 turns, then a cleanse, which is really good in the arena. If anybody knows Manable and they used to watch his reset videos, they would know that Battle Sage was used for a very, very long time and she is really good. She also has Revive on Death on attack ally for 3 turns, just meaning the ally will instantly revive if killed. 4 turn cooldown. You make her quick, base speed is 100 speed, so there is a bit of... She's a decent enough champion. A lot of people do use her. A lot of people prefer her for a Revive on Death champion. So guys, that's the video for today. Talking Revive on Death, it is a buff that works extremely well in a lot of situations. A lot of champions, good champions are coming out. They'll have that. Also with like increased defense, strengthen, all this type of things. The synergy that goes with them nowadays is just so strong. So if you pick up any of these champions, I mean most of them are worth working on. The best ones pretty much Godseeker and Needy. We forgot Kutraxa, who's a nuker. Cardial obviously, but very hard to get. Skytouch Shaman, Lightsworn. Of the epics is probably my top 2. Lightsworn is just a beast. Skytouch Shaman is also great for that and also for the heals. So guys, down below, Revive on Death, do you use any of these champions? Do you like the buff? Do you have any certain team compositions that you like to use these champions in? Stick them in the comments down below guys. That's all for now. As always, keep on reading, stay safe. I love you all, and I'll see you on the next video.